Welcome back to the Lights Out podcast, bedtime stories for boys and girls around the world. Good evening, boys and girls. Are you ready for bed? Are you all snuggled up and ready for another Lights Out bedtime story? Well, you're in for a treat tonight. Like the other nights, I've been ratching through the library and I found a lovely little book called The Little Flower King by an author whose name I'll try to pronounce. It's Kveta Pacovska. Hope that's right. Once upon a time, there was a king, a very little king. He lived in a tiny little palace in a kingdom far away. One morning, the little king was walking in his palace garden. His coat pockets were full of tulip bulbs. He kept stopping to dig holes in the ground and plant tulip bulbs in them very carefully. He watched his tulip bulbs every morning, and then he waited. He waited and waited until one fine morning his palace garden was full of little tulip buds. The morning after that, his whole little kingdom was in flower. The little Flower King was pleased. But the little Flower King was not quite happy yet. He still needed one thing to make him really happy. His heart was empty and full of longing. Suddenly he cried out loud, "I know what I need. I need a princess." And the little Flower King set out in search of one at once. He searched all day, in sunshine and in rain, and he searched all night. "Here I am," said a soft little voice inside a tulip flower. A window opened. The little Flower King stood and stared. Was this the princess he had been looking for? The little Flower King and the princess had found each other at last. The trumpeters were waiting outside the palace. 3 cheers! 3 cheers! The wedding was held that very day, and the little princess became queen of the flowers. And the little Flower King was happier than he had ever been in his life. And now there is a king, a very little king with a little queen, a very little queen. They live together in a little palace, and they are as happy as the day is long. The end of The Little Flower King by Kveta Pacovska. A beautiful book, fit for any library. Here on the Lights Out podcast, bedtime stories for boys and girls and flower kings and queens around the world. Good night.